Our next presenter is Astrid Winkler, and Astrid is currently working as a senior project manager with a Swiss marketing firm named Face AG, if I'm not mistaken, and is primarily responsible for end-to-end success of multiple companies and customer engagements under her umbrella. So, she is a skilled project manager with excellent people skills and is also proficient in stakeholder management. Her typical day at work involves talking to her stakeholders, understanding their needs, engaging with third parties, negotiating contracts, creating a project plan, and working with her wonderful team to execute it for success. As his colleagues often describe her as passionate, inspiring, creative, helpful, and fun to work with personally. So, Astrid, welcome with us today, and I invite you to the stage.
So, can I share my screen? I'm sorry, I did not get any information so far.
I Let me make sure. Don't you have the option at the bottom?
Okay, now I have it. Thank you.
The control bar. Okay.
So you can see my screen, right?
Yes, I think so, right?
Is it working?
Yes, perfect.
All right. So thank you so much for my introduction. Also from my side, welcome to my QA talk today. I'm going to present you emotional intelligence for testers. Before we start, please make sure to get your mobile phone ready. You will need it later. So almost everything is said about me, but here is a little bit about myself. I work as a senior project manager with Face AG in Switzerland. Some of you might already have noticed my work during the Testmaster Test Academy leadership conferences, where I got the opportunity to write about my personal experience and conduct my own interview series with speakers. Based on that, I also wrote an article for the Tea Time with Testers magazine. Well, I'm not a software tester by profession, but I have developed a keen interest during the conferences and during the work with the speakers. Out of my interest for emotional intelligence, I decided to get a deeper knowledge from the Chinese International University, where I got certified as an emotional intelligence practitioner. I'm excited to speak today in this format and introduce you to emotional intelligence, since this topic is very close to me. And I personally experienced how important emotional intelligence is and what impact it has on your career and personal life. This is my agenda for today, and without wasting much time, let's have a closer look. So, my experience with the testing conferences has been very interesting. As a newbie in testing, I developed my understanding from the talks I attended, the interviews I conducted, and during the conference, how much human-based technology is, and what testers do and what they really have to deal with. This made me wonder and research more about testing as an intellectual activity and problems testers face. So this whole experience made me realize that emotions play a very critical role in a day-to-day life of a tester, and hence emotional intelligence too. Before I talk about emotional intelligence, I feel it important to tell you how I understand testing to be. Testing for me is about finding true knowledge about status of the product, finding risks that threaten value of the product quality, communicating with people about risks, collaborating with people to solve problems, and accurate decision-making is the core at good testing. The diagram you see here explains us the science of emotions. It explains in the neuroscience has shown that whenever an event occurs, the first thing that happens, for example, when someone is talking to us in a meeting, the first thing that happens, the emotional brain tags that event as either a threat or a reward. The job of the emotional brain here is to make a very quick unconscious decision if something or someone is safe or not. The tag, which is in fact an emotion, is communicating to the thinking brain, which involves structures which are involved, helping us determine helping us determine good from bad and better from best. This helps us anticipate behavior and taking decisions. Everything you do in life based upon your brain's determination to minimize danger and maximize rewards. Minimize threats and maximize rewards is the organizing principle of the brain. So now, as I told you, you will need your mobile phone. I ask you to get it ready. Some of you might already have replied to my questions I have been asking on my Twitter and LinkedIn a few weeks ago. I will now ask you these two questions again. Please use the QR code on the slide or the link below. On your screen, you will now have these questions appearing. The first question I will ask you is, how do you feel when you think of the best moment you experienced as a tester? Great. Satisfaction, outcomes, proud. No one can see your answer, by the way. This is all, no one can see your name. Satisfied. Challenge. Done. Rewarded. Proud. Great. So for now, I ask you to keep that feelings in mind. And we are moving to the next question. The opposite. How do you feel when you think of the worst situation you experienced as a tester? Incompetent, learning, frustrated, good, helpless, challenging, worried, humiliated, somewhat burned out, helpless, experience, ask, worried. Comparing these two emotions, now you realize how much a feeling or an emotion can change for us in a workplace or in a relationship with someone. Here is the key thing. we actually don't know when people feel this emotion. It's hidden below the surface. Because our rule of engagement and social rules do not allow us to walk around and talk about our emotions. Hey, I feel very frustrated. Hey, I feel so worried. We don't do that. We keep that for ourselves. So when we manage everything perfectly, except how people are feeling, that means we are missing something big. If we look closely to your answers, you will notice the emotional side of a tester. In my attempt to understand testing, I also realized that things testers have to face. Testers have to deal with time pressure. There's a lot of emotional stress involved. The work in teams where the mindset, culture, and interests often create conflicts. This is the same thing as the iceberg. It represents your emotional activity. 10% is above the water. It represents your skill. 90% is below the water. This is your character. Our behavior is what others can see. Our emotions, values, and beliefs are not visible to others. They are hidden below the surface, and this is why I feel emotions and how testers will deal with those are at the core of good testing. So let's see what emotional intelligence is all about. Emotional intelligence can be explained by different models. I personally prefer the mixed model, which is shown here by the Janus model. Let's have a closer look to the emotional intelligence competencies. Emotional intelligence at its core is about self-awareness, which is about being aware of the way you feel and the impact your feeling can have on decisions, behaviors, and emotions. Awareness of others is about perceiving, understanding, and acknowledging the way others feel. Authenticity is about openly and effectively expressing oneself, honoring commitments, and encouraging this behavior in others. Emotional reasoning is about using the information in feelings from oneself and others and combining it with others' facts, informations when decision making. Self-management is about managing one's own mood and emotions, time and emotion, time and behavior, and always improving oneself. Positive influence is about positively influence the way others feel through problem solving, providing feedback, and recognizing and support others' work. For me, emotional intelligence, explained in one sentence, is the capability of individuals to recognize their own emotions and those of others, distinguish between feelings and label them properly, use emotional information to guide thinking and behavior, and manage and or adjust emotions to adapt environments or achieve goals. How and where can emotional intelligence help testers? Now that we discussed what emotional intelligence really is, there are certain areas that I think testers can use you for. Critically analyzing or assessing risks. It is important to critically examine your feelings and understanding about risks before you communicate them further. Testers operate in a system with people and product. They need to sharpen their understanding or subtleties of human behaviors in order to take proper decision or sharpen these skills. Emotional intelligence can help. Building relationships and inspiring actions to promote quality, mindset, and communicate the value of testing. Late Kobe Bryant said, the most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great in whatever they want to do. Even job interviews these days have tests for testers which involves emotional intelligence. Therefore, understanding emotional intelligence and developing it further would be a great thing testers can do for themselves. Let's have a closer look to the competencies. Self-awareness. Lack of self-awareness means that we never notice our errors, so we cannot capture them and convert them to something meaningful. Wonderful. Jerry Weinberg. To be great at testing requires one to be great in communicating and also in dealing with people under various circumstances. For example, testers need to interact with different stakeholders under different situations. Sometimes it is for asking questions, finding more information, communicating the risk, even explaining the scenarios. Sometimes it is about pairing with programmers or fellow testers. All this interaction requires testers to be aware of what they are doing and what context, how they are communicating, how they are presenting themselves, what impact they can have with those interactions. Higher self-awareness is the key to success. Testers with higher self-awareness are able to do like demonstrate an awareness of the way they feel, demonstrate awareness of the impact their feelings can have on how they interact with others, or that behave in what that is consistent with how they describe themselves to be. Awareness of others, just like awareness of yourself, awareness of others plays a very important role. And its awareness can help testers make constant, appropriate decisions. Testers with higher awareness of others are able to accurately acknowledge and the way others feel, relate well to others' feelings, and adjust their behavior so that it fits well with others. Emotional reasoning plays a critical role in a day-to-day life of a tester. Some examples would be the decision about some observed behavior is a bug or not requires some emotional reasoning. The decision about when to stop testing requires reflection on feeling, not just finding any more defects or learning anything new about the product they test. Communicating decisions in a way that is sensitive to others' feelings. Communicating risks can be very stressful when stakeholders are not open to hear about those. Creating effective test strategy can be greatly influenced by higher emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning can help in making pair testing programming efforts more fruitful. Testers with higher emotional reasoning consider issues from multiple perspectives, demonstrate awareness of basis in decision-making, or communicate decisions in a way that is sensitive to others' feelings. Self-management recognizes others' hard work and achievements. Testers often work in changing contexts with fast-changing requirements. Test strategies, skills, and techniques make more sense when they are adapted with changing contexts. Managing testing activities under time pressure requires better planning and management. Testers with higher self-management are more effective at dealing with situations above, like respond effectively in stressful situations, adapt effectively to different changing circumstances, manage their own time effectively. Testers often have to convey unpleasant news about risks they uncover and information like that. High positive influence helps to communicate such things with ease and without generating negative output. Testers with higher positive influence provide useful support, help others respond effectively to stressful situations, help create a positive work environment. Let's have a look behind the black box. As I said before, I asked you these questions a few weeks ago, and these are the answers I got from testers. When you now compare these answers to the answers you gave me today, you see how quite similar they are. And we notice what different situations with different people we go through same feelings. We can clearly see that the way you show up determines the way people feel. And the way they feel determines the extent to which they can engage, and that impacts pretty much everything about the outcome of that relationship. If I'm to picture an emotionally intelligent tester, this is how I would draw them to be. A tester with higher emotional intelligence competencies that we discussed this far. I understand it is easier said than done, but I urge you to start from somewhere, and because having higher emotional intelligence is more certainly going to take you miles ahead than those who don't. So I conclude this talk with this quote from Dale Carnegie. When dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creators of logic, but with creators of emotions. So before I give you the time to ask me some questions, I would share some references with you and recommended readings. If you want to get some deeper knowledge to the emotional intelligence, I recommend you the Harvard Business Press Emotional Intelligence series. There are like 12 books altogether, which are really deep knowledge about it. I also encourage you to read The Power of Habit by Charles Duck. What we do in life and business. It is a very good book based on having the emotional intelligence in your career life. Google already had in 2016 started using the emotional intelligence for their future coworkers. So they already adapted tests into their interviews. So I really ask you to take a look to that formula Google made for their interviews. And I encourage you to check out my blog on my homepage, which introduces you to my journey with the China's international emotional international practitioner journey. I would like to thank you for giving me your time today and listening to my first ever talk. So I'm very sorry when few things are not like you maybe know them. So it was my first ever talk on this format, so I'm very happy about that. Yes, if you like this today, feel free to connect with me on any of my social media accounts. I encourage you to visit my blog. If you like to have your own professional assessment on your emotional intelligence, please reach out to me at any time. It was an honor and amazing experience to be part of this project. I hope I could inspire you today. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again. Until then, stay safe and love what you do.
Thank you very much, Astrid, and we hope you had a great experience for your first talk.
Yes, thank you.
And definitely an effort to raise awareness, and that has a huge impact on mental health too. So are you ready for the Q&A session?
I am.
Okay, so first, what is one difficult emotional challenge that you have faced in your testing career, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, so I do not have a testing career, but I think it is dealing with difficult people. We all deal with difficult people in our work life, day-to-day life, and making yourself aware of, hey, just because this person is showing up like this, it is not my fault. It is her feeling or his feeling who leads him like that to treat me like this or to talk to me that way he actually does in that moment. So being aware of my own feelings and his feelings as well is what helped me a lot going through these situations when someone is showing up in a different way than you may be expected.
So maybe, for example, like a bad day, or he's just not in the good mood. Another question is, in your career, what happened or what encounter you faced that made you realize the importance of EQ?
So during my work for Face AG, I had with so many stakeholders, so many customers, and my team colleagues to deal with. So based on that experience, I started realizing that emotional intelligence is something you have to first work on yourself before you go to others, and before you criticize someone, go to yourself, ask yourself, have I really reacted in the right in the right reaction? Like, should I have reacted differently before I go to that person and say, hey, this is not okay, you should not react like this. So first of all, I started always working on myself, asking myself, have you done that in a professional way? Have you asked in a professional way, or was it too emotional? Which can happen, we are humans.
Mhm. How do you accept the escalations when something fails in spite of your best efforts?
This is also, it always requires you to, it depends on which emotion you are. Are you very stressed? Are you maybe already you have a lot of work on your own, which on your to-do list? Or are you quite at ease and everything is fine? Then you will react differently. So if I'm stressed, I would react in a completely different way. And then if I'm at ease, or if I'm just cool with it and I can just deal with everything.
Okay.
There is not this one how do you say, there is not this one rule you can follow to just make it happen.
Depending on the situation.
Exactly.
Um, Usage of emotional intelligence while discussions and influencing someone during conversation. How different or similar they could be.
How different or similar what can be? I'm sorry, I did not hear that.
Usage of emotional intelligence while discussions and influencing someone during conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any similarities?
So the similarity, like influencing someone is not making them feel or believe the same thing as you do. It is not like, hey, for example, this project, I like it, and the other person is quite of, no, I don't like it that much. So you cannot influence, you should not influence the person or make the person believe the same thing as you. Influencing is whenever something is appearing very good or is you like it, you can influence that feeling, but you cannot influence the belief, because we are all humans. We all have our own beliefs, our own belief system, and we should follow that. That's not the thing we should change in someone, but we can influence this person to also feel as happy as you do about something, which is really good.
So not change their opinion.
Yes, exactly.
Another question is, how do you deal with pressure situations in work life? Like
Yeah.
being overwhelmed with many tasks, for examples.
So what helps me personally is creating to-do lists, and then from that to-do list also create what is important, what needs to be done today, what can we do tomorrow. So, but of course, I'm also a human being as all of you. So if you would have seen me 1 hour before, I would have been stressed out because the polyp did not work and I was seriously out of my mind. I was like, how could this happen? It was always working before. So I could just like, oh my God, why is it happening now? And if you see me now, I hope you cannot feel that.
Yeah. Um, Another question is, in your opinion, is emotional intelligence related to maturity?
Um, yes, I think so because of course the the more we know in our daily life, the more we know personally, the more we learn every day, the more we also realize sometimes just when you think about something that happened 5 years ago and it still matters. But
Yeah.
sometimes things happen today and you have to ask yourself, does it really matter in 5 years? No? So why should I stress about it? I can just leave it. Because if it matters that much in 5 years, you really are allowed to stress out about it. But if you are like, seriously, in 5 years, it will not even bother me, then why should you stress out today? But to come to that point, of course, it needs practice, it needs life. We need to have a way of life to learn that.
Mhm. Is it possible to switch a negative situation to a positive situation using emotional intelligence?
Yes, and I think that is something that is a very good when you reach that level, that is a very good level if you can do that. Um, this is actually, like I said before, when you think about something happening now, does it matter in 5 years? You can change it to the opposite. You can change this negative feeling into something positive because you think, well, why should I stress? In 5 years, it really doesn't matter. So it already becomes something positive because you already realize, hey, this time I'm wasting right now, I can just stop it because I don't need to waste that time.
Move on.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it also has an impact, like having feelings just piling inside you, and it has a negative impact to your mental health while doing other unrelated work, even, right?
True. Yes.
So yeah, I think we're done with the questions. Would you
All
like to
right.
say any final words?
Thank you so much for being here today. I really enjoyed it and I hope we see us again.
We did enjoy it too. Thank you very much for being
Thank you
with
so
us,
much.
and have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.